Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Thatcher with another lesson. Today we're going to be talking about scientific observations and how we can use our observations to help us make discoveries. This is something you can do inside the house, outside the house, or you can do it with a book. So in my class, we do this a lot with nonfiction text. We find a book that we're interested in and we look through it, we read, and we find information. And the way we make these observations is by looking carefully at the pictures, noticing details, and trying to find out important facts. Now you can do this also in your own backyard, which is the next video you're going to see. Mrs. Thatcher had 3 plants in the backyard and I knew the snowstorm was coming. And so I went ahead and covered them 3 different ways. I like to do little experiments like that around the house. I covered one with a ceramic planter, one with a butterfly net, and one with a glass shelf. And you're going to see what happened to the plants. And what I want us to do is be looking at the plants with real attention to detail, making sure we notice the little things about them. And this helps us to be better friends by noticing little details in things. We start to notice details about our friends and families. We might be able to start looking at their emotions and highlighting those emotions. And that's what this video is going to be all about. So the snow's melted, it's a couple days later, and I came out to look at everything and see what we could see. Here's the one hyacinth, here's the other daffodil, and then the third hyacinth. So let's look at this one first, the one that was covered with the ceramic pot. What I noticed is that all the flowers look really healthy. They still have their color and their texture. They look just the same as before I covered them, and the leaves look good as well. The daffodil also looks great, definitely was protected from the snow. The new daffodils that are about to open, I think they're going to open. They have the same color on them. The petals don't look like they were damaged, and the leaves look healthy also. And when we look at the third flower plant that was trying to be protected, this one did not do so well. You can notice that it is sideways, it's kind of leaning. So the weight of the snow must have made it a little bit crooked. Then when we look at the flowers, the petals themselves have a lot of damage. They're really soft looking and almost translucent. You can see that they're all pointing downward. They're not out to the side like the other hyacinth. And you can see that they almost look see-through. You can kind of see through the petals. They're sort of translucent now. So it's good to look at all my observations, remember them. I'm going to go inside and draw them and then write about them. Hi everybody. Now that we went and looked at the plants, we're going to do the writing part. So this is where we take our observations and put them down on paper. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This will be my writing notebook and my marker. And what you want to do when you're making observations is the first thing you like to do is draw a picture. So I'm going to draw my 3 plants. The one on the left was a hyacinth. So it had these pretty little flowers growing out of the sides. And this one was also tilting just a little. So I'm going to make sure to draw that so that it looks like the hyacinth that got the damage from the snow. And what I'm going to do too is just draw a little butterfly net here. And that will be my reminder that this is the one that was covered by the butterfly net. My middle one was a little bit taller. This was my daffodil. And the daffodil sort of, I'm not a great artist, guys, so bear with me. Try my best. I do love daffodils. And it had a couple of flowers just getting ready to bud. Okay, and then my third plant was also a hyacinth. And this one was growing straight up, and the flowers were coming out of the sides. and they were nice and colorful. So I'm going to have to make sure I remember to draw those details when I color my picture. Okay, so I think it's kind of like that. And here's my daffodil. So the next thing we want to do is label. I want to make sure I know which plant goes with which. So I'm going to label this was the net, and this one was kind of frozen. These are leaves. I like to label all my picture. This one was covered by a glass shelf. So I'm going to kind of draw a table. It has these little handles on the side, and it has these glass shelves. And that's what we covered this one with, so I'll label that shelf. And then the third one had a ceramic planter, and this is gonna get labeled too. So planter, the shelf, the net. What do we know about this plant? We knew that the leaves and the flowers had kind of frozen, that it was almost see-through. I'm gonna write that detail down. This one looked very healthy. I know that this is a I don't know how to spell daffodil. That's something I'm gonna have to look up, so I'm gonna leave a little blank here. I don't wanna spell it wrong. That way I'll know to come back and fill that in. These are also the leaves. This was a bud, a flower bud, just about to bloom. And then let's look at our next plant. This was also very healthy. They were vibrant flowers. That means they were bright. And the leaves also looked very healthy. So now I've written down kind of all of my observations. The next part in a discovery is kind of to write about it or think about it. In this case, I'm going to write about it, and I'm going to remember the glass shelf and the planter protected the plants. The net did not. Okay, these are just some quick observations that I'm writing. I can write a couple more things, and you're going to see in our next video what happens after another week. We're going to check back in on the plants, and we'll see what's happening. And remember, I had covered up each plant with a little different way to protect it from the snow. The hyacinth was covered with the ceramic pot, the daffodil was covered with the glass shelf, and the other hyacinth was covered with the butterfly net. So we looked at each plant carefully last time, but I wanted to show you about a week later and another snowstorm later the results. So let's look at the hyacinth up close. You can see it still has its color. The leaves are starting to wilt right here, but that was already there before. When we look at the daffodil, it looks really good. It was definitely protected from the weather. And the other hyacinth, you can notice that it's actually lost all of its structure. It's kind of bending down. Remember, the leaves were very translucent. Now they're actually withered away. I'm going to have to cut that flower off, actually, which is part of the natural growth cycle, but also if it would have been covered, I don't think we would have lost it so soon. So it's just a fun way to look at science in the backyard, looking at our observations with a scientific eye. This time we are talking about making observations and using those observations to be better friends and family members, or to be better scientists and writers. So we went out in the backyard and looked at the plants again. We learned that the best way to protect a plant from a snowstorm is either to use a solid surface like a glass shelf or a solid ceramic pot to cover up the plant. Anything with holes in it will let the snow through and it won't protect it from the elements. So that's one way we use our observations to help learn through science, but we can also use observations to be better friends and family members. One of the things that helps spread kindness is by making people's days better and acknowledging where they are in their day. So you might not be able to see your friends face to face, but you definitely can still talk to them on the phone. You can FaceTime, you can Zoom or do some kind of a Skype. But you also have all the friends and family members in your house that you can do this with too. So one thing I want you to practice is to try and highlight someone's emotions. And what that means is, just like if you were reading a book and you see a word that you're not sure about, you might use a highlighter over it to think, I want to find out more about this, or this is an important word and I want to remember it. We can do that with people's emotions also. So what you do is you just kind of look at them or listen to them, or be near them and make observations, just like we did with the plants. One observation might be, what is their face looking like? Are they smiling? Are their lips turned up or down? Are their eyes turned up or down? Are they looking like their shoulders are slumped, or are their shoulders back straight? Are they holding themselves up, or are they kind of hanging down? Looking at people's body language and also listening to the words that they say can help us to learn about where they are and highlight the emotions that they're feeling. And then what we do with those observations is the next step. So just like with the plants, we use the observations to know how to help the plants grow and live in different conditions. We also want to use the observations that we get from other people or animals about how they're feeling, and how we can use that information to help them, or maybe let them know that you're there for them. So this morning, we had a really delicious smell in the house, and I went downstairs and I noticed that my daughter had made us coffee. And right away, I knew that she was so proud. And the reason I could tell is because her shoulders were back. She was standing straight and tall, and she had a huge smile on her face. And when I asked her, did you make us coffee? She said, yes, I know you love coffee. So I was able to make some observations in that situation and see where she was coming from and what she was feeling. And I could notice that the emotion she was feeling that I could highlight was that she was proud of herself, and also she felt accomplished. So what I'm going to do with that information now is I'm going to write her a thank you card, and I'm going to tell her thank you for making the coffee, and also thank you for thinking of me and knowing that that's something that I would appreciate. What you do with other information might not always be a thank you card. It might be something like reaching out to a friend who you know is feeling down and asking them if they want to talk, or offering to be there for them. If they want to talk, you'll be there to listen. Maybe inviting them to join you in an activity. Maybe acknowledging how they're feeling and thinking about a situation that you can relate to. Say, for example, they're going through something sad or hard. You might be able to relate to a time in your life that you've also gone through something sad or hard. By being a scientist and thinking like a scientist and using our observations to guide us, I really feel like we grow as people. We become more in tune to the little details, and it really helps us to be more thoughtful about our own actions too. I hope this helps. Take care.